Morning, Martin.
Good morning, David.
Here we are, Hardy Factory, Clifton House, Redgate, St Ives Road. 2 pieces of wood. It's thrown away by us as useless. 1, an oak floorboard, using now with a bit of sandpaper, has been turned into something that might be worth more than we started with, or it might just be what we call in the trade a piece of firewood. Much of what that was, by the way. We run salvage parties, working parties, part of Ledgate Village, part of the Pond Valley Network if you like. Fundamentally, all we're trying to do is what we can with what we've got, without twisting and whinging and saying we've got enough. And by the way, there was a beautiful video put up on Ledgate Village's Facebook today. It'll find its way onto ledgatevillage.com later on. And it's one of the men that lost his wife in the Bataclan shooting in Paris. Tragic. And he's advocating peace. Maybe that's what we should be all doing. Get onto the site, have a look at it. You'll maybe see where I'm coming from with this. Anyway, back to pieces of wood. This one was bobbing around in the Tyne until last Tuesday, I think, when we were allowed, courtesy of the Gateshead, to go quietly down to their salvage yard and pull out some bits of wood from their salvage yard just below the sage, and to make something out of them that we can maybe sell to raise money on behalf of Ledgate Village, so we can carry on doing some of the things that we do very regularly and have been doing since May 2007. You get a close up on that, Martin, you'll see that it's not a straight line in the damn thing, because I don't do straight lines, but nonetheless it's worth a bit more than it was before. We've got it for now, and I hope if we actually do a bit more advertising like this, which is what it is, we might actually start to sell a few more pieces and do a bit more in Ledgate Village, which needs a bit of help. Alright, let me show what sort of wood it is. It's a bonny piece of wood, and it's been done by hand. Took about an hour to do. Kids used to do this with us a while ago, and maybe we can get them to start doing it again in the future. But with that piece of wood, and maybe that piece of wood arranged in a particular way, it has a certain look to it. Even if you don't know the words behind it, it's something that you can actually have as what some people might call a knick-knack. Well, other people call it a piece of art. Or like I said before, some people just might carry on seeing it as firewood. As far as straight lines are concerned, you don't always have to do straight lines. That piece of wood there, you can see it's not flat, but if you drill a hole in the top, put a glass rod in it on the vertical, you can put a piece on the top of it. Maybe later on I can show you a piece like that. But what I'd like to do today is just show you a few more pieces of wood that have been produced by us, as I say, since May 2007, and specifically and more eloquently perhaps since April 2013, all recorded one way or another on the Ledgate Village Facebook page and website, and we'll add a few more later on. So if I just walk around behind you, Martin, just stay focused there. Similar sorts of wood. Discarded elm from Quaking Houses. Man been helping for a few years now. Finally packed his business in a while ago, settled down, letting us have the last pieces of his shed. Looks a bit like an elephant, don't know. But at least it's something there. A piece like that. The same run by one of our salvage parties to Quaking Houses. Another piece of wood, hand polished, you can hardly hold on to it, it's that smooth. Done with sandpaper for about 2,500 grit. And some people might see it as Yogi Bear, some people might see it as something else, but all the same, it's something that you can actually display on a piece of wood like that. That starts to give you a feeling that maybe it's starting to look a bit more arty. And if I bring another piece. An obvious one. I'll talk as I come round. A clock. Needs no explanation. It's a clock. And that's because somebody's got a couple of holes in it and put a little clock on the corner and a barometric sort of, what do you call them, weather station on the other side. I'll bring another piece along. And another one. Same idea about taking pieces of wood and doing something with them just with sandpaper. Needs no skills, just needs a creative bit of thinking. And a few people have said that might be turned into a clock, but of course we need to cut a straight line on it, which I'm not very good at, as I've said. Somebody might do that with it, but you can do the same sort of thing. Either way, it's part of the same burr alder, which came from Quaking Houses in 2006, I think. Some of the pieces came from Bob Cromer on the Halo Sawmill. A lot of it's come from Jeff Willis. Some of it's just been gathered up. Piece like that. Could be another clock. If you actually set that on a piece of wood, maybe like this one over here. Spin round and have a look. Again, nothing to it. Piece of wood discarded, not discarded, made by John the Boat Builder up in Bradley Workshop. Sorry, John the Carpenter up in Bradley Workshops. I'm confused with Fred Crowd, the Boat Builder, top of Durham Road, where Jimmy Donoghue used to be. But essentially, if you want to do something and combine the woods, you can. Same principle, just sandpaper. Beautifully smooth. Bit of wood like that takes a long time to make. Was discarded. John knows what I do. Passes the wood on to me regularly. And as I say, he makes carts, and he makes very, very good carts. Piece I was talking about earlier. Man lives along the street here called Jason Burry. Keeps hens in his garden. Nice enough lad in his way. But a piece of ash like that to get the contrast. Put that on the side, and maybe you start to think about cockroaches and things like that, which I hear every morning from about 5 o'clock onwards. Just ahead and spin it round the other way, and you got the same basic idea. That you got a back and a front. I'm never quite sure which way what's back and what's front, but you can do what you want. And I'll go and get another piece from there. On the same lines as the cockroach. Tadpole. Wouldn't like to say what it is.
Looks like a slug with a shell on.
Like a slug with a shell on. That'd be a snail then, Martin. Alright?
Correct.
So fundamentally, these pieces go down to Gippside with us. I should have mentioned Gippside National Trust a while ago. We go down there every first and third Saturday in the month, and we try and sell bits and bobs. And as I say, the money that we get from it gets used in all sorts of ways. To support local organisations, get people involved, get the young talking with the old, whatever you like to do with it, providing you're doing something with it. Okay, so again, it'll be another piece of wood, maybe arranged in a slightly different way. If you're daft and you wanted to, and you want to cut some lines, you can bounce them out on that as well. It's kind of staged art, if you like. It's what the interior designers do and the shop fitters. So I'll put that on there. I should have added that that's a bit of wood from the Redgate railway station that used to be just over the wall here at the back, and that's a piece of basically teak panelling that came out of the Durham Coke Works a while ago. You can see it's starting to shape up. It's starting to look as though it might be worth something. We'll see. Talking about different woods, if I take that one off here, put that on there, try this one, which is the same sort of wood, slightly older vintage. It's called Ripple Ash. Put it on the top there, stand it on there, and then you're starting to get the notion that maybe there is a bit more going on. As far as angles and points of balance are concerned, you find the right space, and it will eventually stand. Maybe not today. The point is, you can always find a piece of wood and do much the same thing and put it on the top there. A bigger piece of wood, like this one. Again, same tree. A bit like the tree that fell on my car when I was down at John the Butcher's yard 2 years ago. Knocked my car. But that's also called rippled ash, and you can see where the rippling comes from. The tree is held under tension, you get compression lines occurring in it. Eventually it starts to rot out in the middle. Beech does that fairly commonly. And then maybe with that sort of thing, you can use it in all sorts of different ways. If you've got a couple of carpenters working for you, or a couple of wood carvers working with you, which we have, they can do all sorts of stuff, clever things that I can't do. That and that would look nice together. Alright? So same deal, walk around the side here. Same patch of old elm. Get the camera on that. Look into the wood. No more than a square shape. But if you actually spend a couple of minutes, a bit like looking into a fire when you're sitting at home, if you've got an open fire, you'll see all sorts of things going on inside. That's called burring, and that occurs in elm. Alright? So if you wanted to, that could be, I don't know, a base for something akin to that. If I wanted to level it off a bit, I can do that easy enough. If I wanted to put that one on the top, again I could do that. No idea what the value of these things are. I know for myself how much time and effort it's taken me. But I think even without that, you can see there's some value to it. Go around inside again. So we've got elm there, we've got rippled ash there. We've got a piece of oak sitting at the back. We've got a piece of chestnut there. One of 4 slabs pulled out of a skip down in Ripon, I think, a wee while ago. Man-made garden furniture. There's no use to him. Perfect for me because I do a thing called bark art where you just work the bark of the sides, and that's really good for the kids. We do the work in the schools, the kids get involved in doing this. And if you look closely at where the bark is just being rubbed off, it creates a beautiful effect on the side. Some folks would maybe kill for that for a coffee table. But I've got 4 or 5 pieces like that. Again, they've all been laboured on over the years. Back to the bits of alder burr that were used to cut these pieces out of. Take it off on the round, cut pieces off there, and again I'm thinking that somewhere along the line there, that's likely going to be a clock, because that's the way people see things. But I'll put it on there for now. If I turn my attention back to this piece of ash here, Gary Welford, woodman, Jimmy Welford's son, down behind Allendale Cottages, down the road above High Westwood, I think it is. Same deal. You can be as daft as I am and rub the hell out of a piece of bark to produce something like that to go on a wall, or you can turn it around the other way and you can just smooth the hell out of it, and it becomes either a big cheese board for somebody if they want it, or a piece to carve a cheese board out of, like I say, or whatever it is. But either way, you're looking at it from all points of view and positions and perspectives. I'll turn that round and put that out the way. I should add, by the way, that the tin trunk down below that came out of Fred's boat yard about 3-4 months ago, and because I've got no room left in there to do note, that's where I keep all the sanding gear, sandpapers and abrasers as opposed to tools. If you swing around Martin and look in there, you'll see that there's other bits of machinery around. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. Either way, I can never get at it because it's full of wood. You see all the bits of wood, which are our stock and trade. Right. Another piece of elm. That one, you'd have to feel it to see just how smooth that is. It's absolutely unbelievably smooth. Beautiful. That's the thing about wood, it's tactile. It makes you want to rub it and touch it and feel it. But if you cut it in a particular way and cut the burrs, cut across the burr, you'll get this lovely Pazier effect so popular in the 60s. And again, that becomes a base for something different. I'll put that on there. I'm going to pop around behind you again. Maybe this one is more obviously turning into a clock. Alright, you can see that just with a little router. Bit of care. Cut a notch on that. You can either use that to put a clock, a square clock face in if you want to be Art Deco sort of stuff. Or if you wanted to, you can just set it down on the bottom there. Either way, it's the same pieces of burr alder that we've got over there, which lend themselves to this sort of thing, because it's a beautiful wood to work, and it smells marvellous when you're working it as well. So I'll stand that up there. Hope it stays. And just by chance, the same piece of wood that I showed you earlier, which looked to me a bit like an elephant. Old elm, very old elm. Still got the worm holes in. The worm's dead, by the way. When you see a hole like that, it doesn't mean it's infested with worm. It means the worm's been in there. It's legged it. It's happened enough. Either way, all the wood's treated so it doesn't spread. But a single piece of wood comes in like that. You can see where it's been joined together, and just with a little bit of imagination and cutting in the right place and a lot of bloody hard graft and a bit of grit and determination, you end up with what might be a pair of things. Somebody would say it's a bookend, others would see it as something else. If you didn't want to use it as a bookend, you can find a piece of wood to put on the top of it. Here again, could be anything. We've got bits of council chamber and all sorts of stuff in here. All of it acquired by us since 2003, 2004, and that's an awfully long time. Just to make my point, that's how the wood comes in originally. Again, this is courtesy of Jeff Willis along in Quaking Houses. That came out of his shed along with the last few bits and bobs a while ago. It looks knout, but it's as dry as I won't say it, a mummy's wishbone. And when you start to cut that, I'm not carving it, I'm just trying to clear back the bark very, very gently, very carefully, and take out what's already in the wood. I don't like to take anything off or add too much to it. Just let the wood speak for itself. So I'll leave that on the floor for a moment so you don't trip over. That's for safety. Piece of beech wood. Loads of this goes on the fire. Beech. I know we're talking about ancient beech woods off and on. At the end of the day, beech doesn't live for more than about 300 years. It always rots from the base, but you get some really, really bonny effects. And it's a nice wood. And you can work the edge of the wood. Get that out of the way. Same logic of cutting, so you actually take what's out. That's a smaller piece. Again, tactile as hell. And it would take somebody like me, I suppose, somebody who's been knocked on the head too many times, to see something in that. But as far as carving is concerned, that's about the closest thing that I can do to carving, where I try and just cut pieces so it suggests movement. So if that's stood in a particular way in the light, and you polish it so the light catches the edge, you'll start to see a face in there. The obvious one is you see a leg going forward, you see an arm going out, and that's one way of looking at it. You turn it round the other way, put it on its side, you'll see something else, somebody waving for help or whatever, even looking into the wood. If you just take a little nick out of that, you'll start to produce something that looks like a little mini face inside. With just the smallest amount of sharp edges, if you like, you can still achieve the same thing. Alright, and then one side, still just as it came. You can see the old saw marks on there, probably made by Jeff Willis about probably 30 years ago. And again, without cutting lines, you just start to think about how you might arrange it. Picking up the light colour of the oak there, the light colour of the beech there, you can start to add things on there. If you wanted to be drastic about it and cut a straight line on the top, you can find a piece of wood to go on the top. You're just looking to add things. Not too elaborate, keep it nice and simple. I'll walk around again. Oh, time. Again, you can see what's my favourite wood, burr elm. Burr alder. You can see how that specks and the colour of pippy stuff and the actual flames that come out of that, just like your flame mahogany and stuff that we actually import still from the rainforests. You can see where the worm's been, it's gone now. And again, you'd have to feel it, but you can see that fundamentally there's something in there, one way or another. Whichever way you look at it, you'll see something in there. If you turn it round this way, I don't know, you might see a hippo lying on its side, just head resting on the top there. Whatever you see. Kids will see things differently from old folks. Old folks will see things differently from the young folks. Doesn't matter. Get down to it. Everything that needs to be in there is in there. So I'll drop that on there. Oh, I should have added. A lot of the elm that came to us from the end of St Ives Road, we got about maybe 7 years ago when some council workmen were chopping a tree down, or rather subcontractors on behalf of the council. They were kind enough to sort of know what we were doing and brought the wood along to us. We put it outside the shed, which is along just to Martin's right hand side there, and over the years it's seasoned off now. You might get the occasional crack or split, but that's now seasoned wood. It's taken that length of time. Again, a big round of wood. If you were to spin round Martin and just point it beside the copper beech, you'll see various bits of round elm, a more recent batch, waiting to be processed. And if you walk around Ledgate, you'll see some bigger bits that have been dotted around. Just try and make sense perhaps of, a cycle wave which doesn't get too much love and attention. So I'll just stand that on the side, next to this one here, Martin. And when you're starting to arrange the bits of wood, you can still start the juxtaposition things so they come out in a particular way. Put that there. Same principle of great big chunks of wood. Back to the order again. Must have been a big tree, must have spent ages getting it down. Okay, you can try and do something with that. I don't know quite what you would do, but put a piece in Ledgate County Infant School probably 7 years ago now, and it was no more than a piece of oak, Forsyth oak that had been chopped down in about 1965, 1966. We got 5 tons of it. Martin gave me a hand to get it back up here. And it suggested a school desk, so I went in the foyer, and the kids used to come in and say, "That's an old desk," and it wasn't. It was a block of wood. Okay, arrange the pieces of wood together. Same logic. When you start to work the back, this one's not finished yet. You start to bring the burr out. Rolls Royce pay a fortune for things like this, by the way. Drop it on the top there, and you're starting to get the notion that you're starting to assemble things into some sort of order. If you spin around for a minute, Martin, that's emptied my boot, and in the bottom of the boot I've got about 4 or 5 bags of alpaca pieces that we got from Janet Struthers as a barter down at Gibside. It's beautiful stuff. I'm trying to barter it for a bit of wood on somebody else at the moment, and again, when that bartering process has taken place, it'll still lead back to Ledgate Village one way or another to try and do something with the cycleway. And it breaks my heart trying to help out with the cycleway. It really, really does. Because for years and years and bloody years, ever since I got here in 1999, I've been begging Sustrans, along with the village, to do something about the place. I've had the same stupid bloody arguments every time about we can't, because fundamentally, a few years ago we set out to do something about the cycleway, and we did it. We asked for help, we didn't get none, but we got there now. Last piece out of there, piece of oak in the round, drill a hole on one side, same old glass rod stuff put in the top there. You can put something on the top and you can make a lazy Susan or something similar. I'll drop that down there. Now these are all big, what I might call arty pieces. They don't need to be. The same piece of elm and alder, the same piece of elm and alder that have done that. Also let us use our newly acquired bandsaw to cut them into small strips like that. And they make beautiful little bookmarks or business cards if you want to, just with a little bit of careful effort. They polish. There'll be labels for our prezzies that we're trying to make for Christmas, just to band them up, and we'll sell those, and again the money will come back. Got boxes full of that stuff. Boxes and boxes. And it's the simplest thing in the world. You're polishing a bit of it, you cut it, you polish it, you stamp your name on it if you want to. If you want a business card or something, or a Christmas label, you've got it. Either way, it's stuff that's basically we got for nothing but our time and effort and labour, and it turns into something else. So I'll put that on the floor just to reflect one part of what we're doing. Same idea. We'll sell wood to bowl turners. But sometimes we go out and get wood from elsewhere. We go up to Hoyk sometimes. There's another woodman up there gives us offcuts because he does blanks for bowls. When he gets an offcut off his bowl, which is going to be discarded, I go up there. Occasionally maybe pay him £100 to buy a few boards, but what I'm really after is his offcuts that he's going to burn, you know. And if I actually drill a hole in that, which I have, and I turn it around and I'll think about the French of the moment, it's kind of, I don't know, Napoleon's hat or whatever. But if you arrange things carefully in the same way that I'm trying to do now, then you get suggestions of all sorts of things. If I bounce that on top of a piece of wood, it doesn't matter which piece, one way or another, it'll start to suggest something. You can do the same thing with little twigs, and I'll come back in a moment, Martin. Now this is the ultimate daftness, but the kids love it. You find a piece of wood, that's a piece of ivy actually, and it's cut. It's like creates a lattice around the trees, and ivy dries out. Ivy's a wood, of course. And if you get a bit of movement in it and you want to add something to it, it looks absolutely stupid, there's no to it. But that suggestion of movement, and if you start to think of the head there and the arms there, then you can build on this one piece. You can add to what you've done already. That glass bulb there is just something that a man down at Gippside bartered for a piece of wood a while ago. We've got loads of these, and they get incorporated into bits of wood sculptures, if you like, one way or another. Or we'll polish a piece of wood like that, and we'll spin a yarn, and we'll kind of put something on there that suggests a shield or something, and put another stick on that that suggests a sword or whatever you want to do. But the kids see this beautifully when we're playing the game in the schools. We've done Whissendine, we've done Ledgate, we even did a little bit of Coriolis School. But fundamentally, and indeed we're invited down to Rowlands Girl. We've probably done about 7 or 8 schools since we started off all those years ago. Nothing formal about it, just after school assembly one day, or in the afternoon, for an hour or two, get the kids, break them down to teams, let them use their imagination and be creative, and they'll come up with all sorts of good stuff. Rather than the schools coming around and saying, can you donate a piece of finished work to go in for our school funds, auction, whatever, they can get involved with us in the Arty factory. I'll put that there. I must be running out of time now. Back to this box here. Again, when you're cutting the same bits of wood, don't always make them straight lines. Like I said to you before, those are straightforward ones. Bits of old elm, which otherwise would have probably been put on the fire. They turn into cards. They look nothing now, but what you get out of that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 elm, bird elm labels. Put them on your Christmas presents, and it adds a lot of value, particularly if you write your own message on there as opposed to stamping your name on it in terms of